Welcome to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer, a full show of tips and practical strategies to repair, rebuild, and strengthen your relationship. If you are currently stuck, wondering if your marriage can be saved, or you know you want to save it but don't know how to go about changing it, this show is for you. To book your free marriage strategy session with Nicola, get the free marriage ebook or donate. If you are enjoying the show and want to help keep it flowing, visit www.nicolabeer.com.
Hi and welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about OCD in relationships and managing OCD in relationships, because there's a huge assumption that the term Obsessive Compulsive disorder, OCD, only relates to an obsession with cleanliness and cleaning things. I'm sure you've heard people say, oh, he's so OCD about how clean the kitchen is, or she's so OCD about the bathroom being clean after using it. However, OCD is actually classed as an anxiety disorder which presents itself as obsessions and compulsions in doing things and not having the control to stop them. Behaviours that are linked to OCD are repetitive hand washing, repeating words or phrases, continuously checking things, having things in a particular order, cleaning or worrying about germs, even being put off about sex, which I'm going to be talking about, because the other person is dirty. Things need to be kept in a certain place, and making decisions about day-to-day things. We all have a tendency to want things in a particular way, or to have a set routine. But the difference for those who suffer with OCD is that they cannot cope with things when they do not go their way. For example, if we think we may have forgotten to lock the door, we are able to retrace our steps in our mind to reassure ourselves that we did lock the door. Pull the door tight if you've got one of those ones that automatically lock. And in the worst case scenario, we may go back and check the door once and then we'll be fine. Someone with OCD will not be able to rest until they go back and check, regardless of how inconvenient this would be. Additionally, with OCD, they may feel the urge to check again and again and again, several more times. For people who have OCD, they really find it hard to balance their thoughts and actions. Often they cannot talk themselves out of their thoughts, even if deep down they know that they are not rational. They are compelled to carry out the action. For example, a lady I worked with insisted on keeping all doors in her house at a certain angle. If anyone moved the door, she had to get up and put the door back at the right angle. And she would have to check all the other doors in the house again, even though she knew no one had touched any of the other doors. When you take into consideration how much time and effort and energy goes into dealing with OCD, you can understand why it has a huge impact on a person's life at home, at work, and their social life, especially romantic relationships. Some people will even go as far to say that the OCD is a third person in the relationship, purely because it requires so much attention and can sometimes dictate how a relationship runs. Today I want to share both sides of the OCD coin with you. I want to explain how difficult relationships can be for the person who has OCD, as well as how life is for the other person who has a partner suffering with OCD. I will then share tips that have helped countless of couples across the globe that have dealt with OCD in their relationships. I'll start with the life through the eyes of someone who suffers from OCD. I want you to think about all the things that you do in a morning. You wake up when you need to, and then you either jump in the shower or grab a coffee or a tea. Does that sound like you? Maybe you'll have some breakfast and then you'll just get ready to start the day. For someone who suffers from OCD, they will wake up to thousands of thoughts running through their minds. Have I done this? Have I done that? Better check this, better check that. Am I doing this right? Why is that there? What's going on? It's just non-stop for them. For example, a lady I work with, I'll call her Sarah to protect her identity. She suffered from OCD, which got out of hand after she got married. Although Sarah and her husband had been dating for 4 years prior to their wedding, they decided only to live together once they were married. A lot of people assume this was because of religious reasons. However, the reality was that Sarah could not get over the thought of having to share her bed, her home, with someone else. She had a real concern over germs, which was heightened when she finally agreed to get married. Sarah left the home at the age of 18, so for years she had the luxury of living alone. This meant that she was used to things being very clean, very tidy to her standard, and she never had to worry about anything being dirty or full of germs. She was in full control. Once married, Sarah really had to try to contain her worries, because as much as she knew her husband was not dirty, she couldn't sleep next to him unless he had showered. Sarah would often ask her husband to shower before getting into bed, which really offended him. Unless he was showered, she could not be in contact with him and would stay on her side of the bed, restless. Sometimes she would even go clean the shower once he was out. This really disrupted their intimacy, as spontaneous sex was out of the question. This made sex less appealing for her husband, as every time he made a move, she would ask for them both to get into the shower first, which killed it for him. With the little sex they were having, the less chance of her falling pregnant, and for all these reasons, arguments got worse. Sarah's husband couldn't understand why she was struggling to be intimate with him and relax. He would make her feel bad, unintentionally, by making comments like, "For someone who wants children, you aren't even willing to try," which of course broke her down. It was hard enough for Sarah to manage her irrational thoughts, but also knowing that she was stopping them both from fulfilling their dreams of being a family was heartbreaking. This is just one of the many examples where even the most basic things like sleeping next to their loved one becomes a nightmare for them because of their OCD. There are many other cases like not trusting the partner with their children as they fear they will get hurt or kidnapped. Comes up quite frequently as well. Even though logic tells them that their children are safe with their mum and dad, they fear this. Or having to have things put in a certain place, and if they are moved, it can really cause a person with a lot of anxiety, just if something isn't in the right way. Now I say just, I don't mean that to be judgmental, but for someone who doesn't suffer from it, it can seem like such a small thing. Such a small thing, okay, the coasters are not lined up, the wall painting is slightly uneven, there's crumbs on the side. For a person with OCD, this can be a massive, horrible thing to them. It can really tip them over the edge, where they will worry, where they will panic, where they will cry, where they will shout, where they will scream, where they won't sleep. They just feel so much stress, and sometimes anger, and they'll just have to make it right. And sometimes that making it right can be washing themselves again and again, putting an object back in the right place, checking something several times, and not doing these things can create a lot of mental unrest. There's one lady that I was supporting who every time she felt bad about anything in her life, she would go and have a shower and a bath. And she would just keep cleaning herself and cleaning herself and cleaning herself. So she would have like a wash or a shower or a bath in the morning, then in the afternoon, then she might have another one before bed. And when we worked through it together, it was because she had had an abortion and she felt so dirty about that and so horrible about that, that she was trying to make it right by washing herself. And it was really sad. And when we got to the reason why and supported her, she was able to go on and have a really strong, healthy, loving relationship. She's now a mother of 2 because she was sort of 18 at the time and not married in a country that doesn't allow couples to have children unless you're married. So it was very risky for her, and she forgave herself, and was able to have that loving, special relationship. The important point to note is that for a person with OCD, not doing something to help them with the symptoms can create mental unrest. Remember that a person who has OCD often knows that their behaviour might not be logical, but to constantly remind them that their actions and thoughts are irrational doesn't really help them at all. In fact, all it does is it makes it harder for the person with OCD to share what is going on for them, to trust those that are closest to them with their feelings and their thoughts. And then this can sometimes make the OCD worse because they're keeping it in and then it becomes bigger. A lot of people will agree when I say that when you share something that's on your mind, it becomes easier to deal with. When we keep a secret about ourselves, about what's bothering us, it can just go round and round and round and round in our head and we can feel terrible. That's why whenever I do work with somebody, whether it's for individual therapy or couple therapy, I really do make sure that they have unlimited email access to me or WhatsApp, sort of instant messaging access to me. Because I just say to them, if you can't sleep, if you've got something on your mind, just email it. Just get it out. Get it out of your head. Because when we just keep things in, this is where we can just go round and round and round. And that mental unrest is horrible. I know I've had it through certain points in my life and it just feels terrible where your mind just does not rest. And then you keep having the same repetitive thought. And you hope when you lie on your bed, that repetitive thought will stop. But sometimes more can come up or it can get higher intensity with it, which is really horrible. For a person with OCD, these thoughts are very difficult for them to control on their own. So being able to share is important. And as hard as it is for the person suffering with OCD, it is also very difficult for partners, as a lot of the thoughts and actions will seem crazy, irrational, and it will be difficult when it impacts the relationship. For example, I've had cases where a husband or wife will struggle to leave their partner alone with the children because they fear that they're going to harm them or that they're going to get kidnapped when they're supervising them or that something bad is going to happen to them. And then they sometimes will also fear that the children, even if they're teenagers and grown up, or their husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, when they go out the door, something bad might happen to them, so they may want to sort of control when that person leaves the house. And again, this can be really frustrating, worrying, annoying, disheartening for that partner. Because no matter how much they reassure them, the children are going to be fine, I'm going to be fine, they may not be able to just let it go. And if your partner wants to continuously check on your parenting, that can also feel very frustrating and like they don't trust you, they don't believe in you, they don't feel you're adequate enough, and that can hurt as well. I have that a lot of times, and sometimes when I support couples to co-parent effectively, to make sure that the children are happy, they have the same rules and things like that in different homes, it can often come up where somebody just really is in a panic about the husband or wife having the children. And in these situations, people feel that they've done everything they can to show their partner that they are capable, that they're good, that they love their children, and yet it doesn't seem to make any difference. The fears are still there, and they can feel like nothing I do is ever good enough. And then there are OCD playing out in the routine when someone comes home. I've seen it where someone wants to come home after a long day at work. They just want to kick off their shoes, sit on the sofa, gather their thoughts for a few minutes. But then their partner insists that they tidy up the shoes, unpack their bag, get changed out of their clothes, take a shower, whatever it is, one of those things, or sometimes all of those things. And that can really take its toll on the spouse. They can feel like, God, I can't even relax. And then I work with a couple where the husband had OCD about death. If things weren't done in a particular way, Tom believed that his family would be harmed and potentially die. For example, when entering the house, he had to turn the handle 3 times before actually opening the door. Or when someone came into the house, they had to ring or knock the door 3 times before he could go and open the door for them, as he really believed if they didn't, something bad would happen to his family. This was extended to checking things 3 times throughout the whole house. And of course, as you can imagine, for a supporting spouse, this was really difficult for his wife, Clara. There are so many things we have to think about in life. But when you add making sure you ring the doorbell 3 times before entering the house, or allowing your husband to check that the stove is turned off 3 times, or going to the bathroom 3 times before sleeping, it can make life so much harder. In both cases, I was able to support both the person with OCD and the supporting spouse through this difficult obstacle in their married life. Having a combination of individual sessions and sessions together, we were able to lessen the impact, calm the thoughts, and work together as a team. By making small changes, both Sarah and Tom were able to go on and live a much happier, healthier married life, which is why I believe that what I'm going to share with you next is so important for anyone going through OCD or is supporting a partner through it. I know it can seem like a huge mountain to climb in order to try and live a normal life when the OCD is the third wheel in your relationship, but I really have seen that there are many things that can make life far easier. These are some of my most successful tips for every couple dealing with OCD. The first thing is to discuss it in a loving, caring, compassionate way, talking to one another about your feelings and what support looks like to both of you. This will help you find some middle ground and ensures that you are both aware of how the OCD is affecting one another. Sometimes we can get lost in our own thoughts and feelings that we do not consider how the other person is feeling. But through discussions, you're able to share your emotions as well as develop a level of empathy towards each other. If you have the OCD, I highly recommend writing a list of what you can aim to let go of and what you cannot let go on. And then compromises can be made. It's far easier to say, okay, do these 2 things for me and I will work on the rest. So you picking the ones that are the most triggering. And that's what I always help people to work out and put a level or put a scale to it so that it doesn't really impact the relationship. The next one is research. Sometimes those who have OCD are so consumed with their own thoughts and worries that they do not take time out to research what OCD is, how they can manage it, what they can do. Read success stories. Read success stories in relationships. Additionally, it's so important for the supporting spouse to also research ways that they can be the best form of support for their spouse. It's also great to read the success stories, the case studies as well, for that morale boost, to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. The third thing is to plan. It's so helpful to sit down together and make a plan. Put a plan in place. And remember that it's progress is important, not perfection. The person with OCD is never going to be perfect because perfect doesn't exist. The person that is supporting the partner with OCD is never going to be perfect because perfection doesn't exist. All we can do is do our best. And our best may be wonderful one day and less good the other day, but we're working towards it. Empathy, compassion, and as I mentioned here in this point, having a plan. Having goals to work towards can really manage the OCD better. Writing a list of behaviours that you would love to change. Writing a list of behaviours that you want your partner to work on both ways is crucial. For example, I mentioned earlier about a couple who the person wanted to come home, kick off their shoes, sit on the sofa, just relax, and then they'd put away their bag and have a shower and get changed. But they just wanted to veg out. The other person found that really difficult. So what we did for them is he would come through the door. His wife would just go straight out the door. She would go and do yoga, go and take the children to the park, have a play date or a coffee with a friend, and she would just be out of the house. So he had the full hour to just completely chill and relax without having to do anything. When he got in from work, she was doing something that made her happy, and then she felt more relaxed when she came home. By the time she came home, he had had his chill out and everything was the way that she liked it to be. So it was something just as simple as this that really worked well for them. In fact, when I work with all couples, I always get us really clear on what's your ideal morning routine, what's your ideal evening routine, what's your ideal weekend routine. Because when we get the routines right, this is where everything starts to go well and smoothly. Then there's the external support network. Having someone to talk to can be really great for many people. Agreeing in advance who you are allowed to offload to. So setting an agreement. Okay, you can share what's happening with these two friends. I can share what's happening with these two friends. This then protects the relationship from any arguments. Oh, you're telling everyone and I want to keep it private, but I need to speak to somebody. Avoids those issues. And also, it makes you feel like, yeah, I've got these two people or these three people that when I'm a bit down about it, they understand me, they love me, and they can just be there to support me. So this can be anyone you trust. And then there is therapy. There are many forms of different therapy that have proven success stories. The most important thing when choosing a therapist is to make sure that you find someone that you like, that you feel, yeah, they make sense, that they are on your wavelength. That is one of the most important things. In fact, many studies have shown that people get the best results with a therapist that they know, like, and trust. By know, I mean they understand a bit about them. They understand their background, they can relate to it. It can be so important. Also, for the person who is married to somebody or in a relationship with somebody with OCD, getting support for yourself, how to help them, what to say, what to do, what to avoid, can also be very beneficial. Especially if it's getting worse over time and not better. Or you're worried that your children might pick up OCD. A lot of people come to me in their relationships worried about that. Worried if their children are becoming more like their mother or father in those situations and how to create that positive change. When couples need support or individuals need support with OCD, there are several things that have been extremely successful for the couples that I've worked with. So let me share what they are. The number one is positive affirmation meditations, created specifically for you and your OCD. This allows us to communicate through meditation with your subconscious mind and give it instructions for what you would like it to do differently. I help clients to overcome negative repetitive thoughts, to relax and to be more at ease. For example, I had a lady who could not pick her clothes out in the morning, as whatever she thought she might wear, she worried that it make her have a bad day. So she used to wake up her husband and they would spend half an hour choosing her clothes, because whatever she said to him choose, when he chose it, she said no. And he said, well, okay, go for the other one. Then she was like, no. And it was a real traumatic experience every single day for them. So she came and we created a meditation for her that said, I enjoy picking my clothes. I pick my clothes easily and effortlessly. This is easy. I feel good about myself. I have a good day regardless of what happens, regardless of things being out of order or things like that. So we really made sure that all of the negative thoughts that she had in her mind over the day, we changed them into positive statements of the opposite. And then I repeated them in a deep meditation, deep relaxing meditation that often she fell asleep to after she listened to it a few times. Gave her the recording so that she could just really start to change those behaviours. And after she listened to the audio that I created for her for like several weeks, she noticed a shift. She was like, yeah, it doesn't matter what clothes I wear. I'm going to be fine. And then She felt more confident, more calm. And it's really powerful because sometimes we can know these thoughts are irrational. However, because it's coming from the subconscious mind, they're still there and they still can panic us. Now she's the happiest she's ever been. He's happier. So it's really a great process. The next thing is to set goals, clear goals, targets. I encourage clients to start with setting their own goals on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, whichever suits their situation. And sometimes even hourly if that person needs it. And then they will report to me at the beginning of the day or the end of the day how they've overcome their thoughts, the victories that they've had. And this can be really powerful as well. That's something that works really great. Because sometimes when we're tracking it and we're praising ourselves and we're saying, yes, I didn't fall into the trap of listening to my OCD thoughts. The third is clearing feelings of resentment and negative thoughts. So this is something I do with all of the people that I work with that want to save their marriage, strengthen a relationship, start a new relationship. If we're carrying our resentments from the past, if we're having negative thoughts about relationships, about love, about other people, like they're lazy, they're controlling, they don't love me, men will cheat, women will cheat, all of those kind of things. This relationship is doomed. I don't mean anything to them. Or so that's a negative thought. And then there's a resentment. They did this on my birthday 5 years ago. They said this to my family member. They never listen. They don't care. If we have these thoughts, then of course these are going to affect our love, our connection, our communication in a relationship. And in the same way, if you are angry at the person with OCD, or you have OCD and you're angry and you're carrying resentment towards your partner, for a happy, healthy relationship, this needs to be cleared. So I take them through processes to clear that. And then for those who are open to holistic spiritual body clearing, not everybody is open to this, but we literally take them on an inner journey. It's like a meditation where they talk to me the whole way through, and I ask them to go to a part to scan their body to where's feeling uncomfortable, and then we'll just see is there any messages from that body part's wisdom so that we can go in there and release it. So these are the steps that I take that have been very powerful. And lastly, I do talking through emotions and thoughts and feelings to find solutions. And this can really help to organize thoughts and feelings, and then from that set solutions to overcome any triggers, conflict, and difficult times. Married life and relationships can be difficult at the best of times. When you throw OCD into the mix, it can really get testing. And I hope that this podcast today has shown you that you're not alone in dealing with this. It happens to many couples, and the degree of OCD can be just a small few things which come in the way of a loving relationship, or big things. And the second thing I want you to know is that it can get better. There are solutions. People are healing themselves. Couples are becoming happier all the time. And you can be one of them if this is happening in your relationship. It's about patience, progress, and love. So thanks for listening to today. If you have any questions on this at all, and you'd like to learn more about how I support couples, feel free to visit my website where you can book a free 30-minute call with me to discuss how I might be able to support you. You can also just look at the description along with this episode, as the link will be there. Go ahead and book a time with me. You're so welcome. I also have my Facebook group where I offer free live Q&As every week, and I am in there every day answering questions. So if you like Facebook, then please do join our community. It's fairly new, we're growing, It's exciting. It's Nicola Beer, relationship advice. If you just put that into Facebook, I should come up. Wishing you a wonderful week ahead. From my heart to yours, take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer. To book your free marriage strategy session today, you can visit www.nicolabeer.com, where you can also get the free marriage fixing ebook, request a topic for the show, and make a donation if the show has been of benefit to you and you want to help keep it going. We wish you an amazing love-filled day ahead.